Hey there, Capricorn. Happy new moon to you. It's a new moon in Leo today, and this forecast is marking the start of the new moon and taking you right the way through the whole planetary picture over the next 2 weeks to the full moon in Aquarius on the 9th of August. Now, this is quite an interesting time. I know I say that all the time, but there are some very clear and distinct patterns that are emerging. One of them, I think, is this sense of inner renewal, this idea of soul unmasking, that we're shining a light into the parts of us that maybe have been asleep on the job, that have fallen asleep, that have been ignored. There is this possibly like a sense of reunion, an older part of you coming forwards, the big return, the remembrance. So many different parts of this are coming forwards right now. I also do think there is an energy of truth telling, even if it hurts. And you know, as I go through this, you might get a sense of that. But there's also my new moon forecast, and next week I'll also be posting my full moon forecast, which really sort of goes into much greater depth about these energies. But from your perspective, what I would really like to explore with you is how this new moon and the polarity that the new moon and the full moon are in. They're exactly in opposite houses, which isn't always the case, but it is right now. And I want to explore what that polarity is really bringing up for you, but also understand and hopefully answer these three questions. So the first question is, what truth am I remembering beneath the noise of life? So if you think of, you know, how noisy our lives have got in the last few years in particular, like, who were you and who are you remembering yourself to be? Like, what is your core truth? I do think that's going to become a lot more apparent in this 2-week period. The second one is like, what part of me is returning specifically? And how am I returning? Am I returning in softness, in strength, in wisdom? How am I returning to myself? And the third is, where have I been hiding? And what will happen when I stop hiding myself? And so, yeah, I will definitely be looking at your chart from those three perspectives. If you're new to this channel, by the way, my name's Louisa Tanner Munson. Welcome to Feel Good Astrology. And if you just come back, thank you so much once again for coming back and putting up with me. I really appreciate your time. And as I bring up my trusty slides, I just want to quickly put a shout out to everybody that has supported this channel historically and that continues to. You make my day. Thank you so much. So here we go, from new moon to full moon. So we're in a waxing moon phase at the moment, and you know, the waxing phase is a growth period. And so what you'll notice as this goes on is that the moon appears to get bigger and bigger. Of course, it's not actually getting bigger and bigger. It's just you know, getting brighter and brighter. We're seeing more of it. And so what this is immediately saying to me is, throughout this 2-week period, more and more is going to become illuminated. More is going to come out. You know, we're going to learn more as we go through this 2-week period. But at the start of the new moon, it almost feels like the calm before the storm. It also feels like this moment that is clean and clear and ready for you to plant some really great little seeds into the ground. Now, if you're a gardener, and I like to think I am, I'm a sort of hobby gardener. You know, if you sow seeds, you know, you don't just kind of pick them up the moment you get a little shoot. You wait, you allow the sun, you allow the rain, you allow life to kind of intervene as well, and see what that little impulse, that little seedling is going to do itself. You wait until there's some roots. You wait until it gets going before you kind of hoik it up and put it to where you want it to go. And it's a little bit like the new moon to full moon, especially in this first week before we get to the first quarter. There's this energy that you're sowing your intentions, and it might just be one. You might have a few intentions that you're wanting to give some energy to. But once you've kind of planted them and felt into it and sort of imagined it in your mind's eye, it's really important to kind of just disconnect a little bit and let life fill in some of the gaps. I really do believe we're in a co-creative universe, and I can't believe I'm saying this on a Capricorn forecast because I sound so hippie, but you know, this really is about creating space so that other people are creating with you, or other entities, other energies are doing some of the heavy lifting. Let heaven do the heavy lifting, as Chuck Spezzano says. Now, halfway through this new moon phase, We get to the first quarter, and that's when you might decide if you're going to continue with this plant, if it's worth the effort of planting it on. And to me, that's the same as what you're going to be doing with your intentions. And then as we get closer to the full moon, things are picking up speed. There's a lot more interaction from outside sources, and there's a lot more illumination and ideas. As we get to the full moon, we are coming into that phase of culmination. Now, it's not to say that if you plant something now, in 2 weeks time, it's going to manifest. But I always think the full moon is really showing us not just a destination, but maybe a step in our journey. And it's almost a time to kind of celebrate how far you've gone. Now, if you've done the full moon phase, this whole waxing phase really well, it should go really brilliantly. But if you haven't defined things enough along the way, or really committed to one path and kind of discarded a couple, you might find around the time of the full moon it gets flipping haywire. So watch out for that. Now, the next 2-week moon cycle, when you look on it in sort of diary form, you get a sense of where things are really kind of happening. And I really, I've just highlighted these 3 key points. In fact, again, it's the new moon, it is the first quarter waxing moon, and it's also the full moon. Now, the reason I've highlighted these is because each of these, on the day of these moons, there is an aspect that is exactly working with Saturn and Neptune. Not always easily, but Saturn and Neptune are implicated. So Saturn and Neptune in their conjunction right now are super powerful. And so what I'm going to be doing when I look at your actual charts in just a second is pointing out why they're so powerful and what kind of effect they might have on you. Other things that might be important to just consider is we've also got Venus changing signs on the 31st. And Mars going into the sign of Libra on the 6th. I think these are both representing a kind of stepping up and a sort of like moving forwards in terms of our energy shifts. But the 31st to the 1st of August, I think, is also quite helpful. We've got a retrograde Mercury cazimi. And to me, what this is indicating is we've got this 8-hour window of opportunity to get some absolute key intel. Now, if you're a channeler, if you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, if you're somebody who does automatic writing, or somebody who writes important questions and leaves them hanging, that's kind of what I do. This is a time to go into curiosity during this 8-hour window when the retrograde Mercury energy is super strong, it's super potent. To me, this is like a brainwave par excellence. You might just get the information that you need at that particular time to shine in the future. So mark that in your diary and check in the description fields, because I will put that 8-hour window in a couple of different time zones for you. Now, let's have a look at the actual picture. So we have got the new moon chart here, and you'll see Capricorn is in the first house. This is from a Capricorn perspective, Capricorn ascendant, you might say. And you can see here that the new moon is highlighting the 8th house, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right the way through to 8. You've also got Mercury retrograde going through here. And you'll see that this sun and moon, the new moon, are in exact opposition to Pluto. Now, it's not often that you have an exact opposition to Pluto and a new moon at the same time. I mean, this is quite intense. But you'll see at the end of this period, when we've got the new moon the full moon in Aquarius, you'll see that Mercury is now in opposition to Pluto, and the sun and moon are in opposition, still in the 2nd and 8th houses. So there is a real sort of 2nd, 8th house polarity. Now, the 2nd house is all about your earnings, your ease with earnings, your ability to receive and feel good about receiving. It's also about your self-esteem and how comfortable you feel as a creator. The 8th house is showing your shared value systems, your shared self-esteem, between you and the people that you love, but also your shared values, your shared income streams, and also other people's money, other people's money that has an impact on your life. If it's your partner's money, if they've got stocks and shares, if you've got an inheritance coming in, if it's somebody's tax bill, or so on and so forth, because obviously the tax authority, they consider that to be their money as well. So, this is your money, their money, your money, shared money, your values, your self-esteem because of the family values. So, this is interesting. This is a place where things are offered a new start. Now, with this new moon, I think this is a great place to have an intention to get clarity in your financial life, in particular, if you've got, if you're related to people, and in a relationship with people, and there's like confusing assets. Like, for instance, there's not many people who are, if they are married, that they're in their first marriage. There are all sorts of weird family shapes and sizes these days, and so things like setting in place a will, and how you allocate assets. I mean, that's a massive, huge pain in the backside for a lot of people, and so this would be the perfect time to really attend to those kinds of matters. This is also a really great new moon to consider how you might get some financial help if you need it, or how you might look to resolve some family issues or some really big psychological issues between you and your partner. To me, this is an area where there's guilt throwers and guilt catchers, and most likely you're both, and so are they. But this is a place where and this new moon, I think, is really giving you this sense that there is a new beginning. There is a new beginning, but it's going to take some consciousness to realize. To me, this is a massive kind of deep dive and a commitment to deep diving into how you can make this work. And so I think it's uniquely powerful, really powerful, in fact. And one of the reasons why I think this might be more about resolving the sort of family jewels and the family kind of expectations and resentments and things like that is because something else that's going on is, and you'll see, look, Venus is here, but she's coming into the sign of Cancer, and then she's going to end almost in a conjunction with Jupiter. But right now Jupiter is sort of smoothing over your relationships, and Venus is going to come in and do that with him. Now, Venus and Jupiter are both benefics. They both show good luck and flow and generosity and a certain amount of affluence and abundance, as well as feeling good with your partner and this sort of share of good times. So these two coming together in your seventh house is showing possibly generosity with your partner, but also this sense of real love and real respect. And so if you do have something going on behind the scenes, now is absolutely the time to resolve it. Set about that from the time of the new moon, because by the time we're at the end of this forecast period, Venus and Jupiter are working beautifully together to absolutely bring everything together in the best way possible. So to me, this is bringing up some beautiful solutions and a real sort of feeling of cohesion. Moreover, this is actually helping you feel more secure and more like you belong to your community and to the family that you've got around you. So I think that's really helpful. Now, where am I? What I want to do, I think, is to talk a little bit about Saturn's role here, because he's your ruling planet. And as you can see down here, well, actually, if you remember, I was talking that Saturn and Neptune, they are very important, and they're aspected by the sun and the moon on the new moon, by Venus on the first quarter, and also by Mars at the time of the full moon. So what does that mean? Well, Saturn and Neptune right now are in the fourth house, and they've been there a while together. They are going to shift back into here later on this year, but they will be shunting forwards again in the early spring, and they are going to be spending all their remaining time in the sign of Aries without any sort of deviance. Now, Saturn here is really trying to help you feel a lot more grounded in your home, a lot more grounded in your family. You might find, I mean, I just had Saturn going through my fourth house, and he can sometimes show up as a time when money's a little bit tight, your resources feel a little bit tight, things need fixing. It can also be a time when you feel a little bit ill or a little bit out of sorts, like you don't have enough energy. And so there's this Saturn can be a little bit stingy. And so one of the outcomes of Saturn coming into the fourth house could be, not definitely, but could be that you feel like everything is a bit run down, like your finances, your home, your appliances, your car. It just feels like everything is taking a little bit of extra work. Really, what I think is going on here is Saturn is demanding that you look after things a lot better. Yes, it might be one of these times in your life that's a little bit more frugal than other times, but it's really here to show you how you can be resourceful, how you can use your finances in a new and creative way, how you can make your resources go so much further. It's really to teach you about appreciation, and also to spread that through your family, to get everybody involved. Saturn is also, I think, showing older people in your family. You might have an elderly person come and live with you. You might start to like you might have extra responsibilities. You might parent somebody. Somebody might be coming into your home that maybe doesn't belong to you, but like you decide to take responsibility. So there is this kind of yoke of responsibility. It doesn't have to be hard necessarily. It might be that you're stepping into it. Now, Neptune also here is, I think, bringing about the sensation of transcendence and this idea of ideology and spirituality and an unfulfilled wish that hasn't gone away. And this kind of, I really need this kind of fairy godmother moment. Neptune can be absolutely philanthropic. Neptune can absolutely want to bring a new kind of spirituality into your home and into your world, so that there can be a new experience at home. And so these two coming together, I think, could even show this almost like a new sense of religion and purpose at home. Maybe there's a new kind of religious or spiritual underpinning in your life, or maybe you're moving into share space with people that are more religious and ideological. To me, this is a sign of a changing picture at home. And it's not immediate. You've already been going through it for the last 3 months. And Saturn's going to be down here for about 2.5 years. Neptune's going to be here for quite a few years, a lot of years. I think, is it 13 years maybe? I can't remember off the top of my head. But, to me, this is part of a much stronger change. And we might not understand why that's coming in right now, but yes, it could be helpful. Now, talking about homes and responsibilities and the heaviness, and sometimes we need a bit of extra money, sometimes we need a bit of extra support. It's interesting that it's connecting to the new moon, because the new moon can absolutely, in this position, bring about new levels of support, maybe an extension on a loan or a preferable rate or something like that, or a loan from a family member. To me, this is, you don't have to suffer whatever's going on at home on your own. Help is at hand, but you might not want to take the help, because the help is coming from people that you have to be intimate with. I mean, I don't mean, intimate, but, like you might have sort of changed your life so much so that, yes, you're in touch with your parents, but they don't really sort of come into the management of your life, and vice versa. Maybe that's how it is. But to me, this is indicating that, your success right now, and a choice that you might consider, is that you might be a little bit in the pockets of each other, and it's okay. To me, this is an exercise in building trust. It's not about failing at something. It's not about being weak. It's about being strong and experienced in trust. And so, yes, I think trust and reliability and responsibility are definitely big themes for you right now, Capricorn. So I think that's true. Now, Venus is going to be coming across. Now, I've already mentioned that she's going to be joining with Jupiter, but around the 1st, you might feel a little bit serious. You might feel that Venus, when she's in a square to Saturn, you might feel like a bit of a failure. You might feel like, oh God, why can I never really fully connect at home? It can show up as a feeling of loneliness. It can come up as a feeling of, I'm just not good enough, and if I was, this wouldn't be happening. My advice here is to not take it too seriously. Venus will move out of this position quite quickly. And to be honest, the more you can cultivate a positive Venus sort of expectation that things are going to go beautifully, things are going to go well, I think you'll be in sort of enhancing this Venus and Jupiter energy that's coming in for real around the time of the full moon. So the last thing to really focus on then is what's happening, with Mars at the top of your chart in opposition to Saturn and Neptune at the bottom. Well, to me, this is indicating, I think, pressures to perform outside of the home. It's really showing this sort of sense of independence, this sense of, I need to do it outside. I need to form my own life. I need to be courageous. I need to be this, that, and the other. And yet it's almost like when you are putting yourself out there, it's pulling on the family strings. It's pulling on your heartstrings. It's difficult to get yourself out there right now. To me, there has to be another way. And I think the other way is to not necessarily push your career, but find a new way of like a new balance. There's this beautiful grand trine here between Pluto and Uranus and Mars, which I think are going to be bringing in a whole new load of zippy, progressive, I don't mean religious progressive. I mean energies that are going to move you forwards very, very quickly. And this is balanced around your view of money, your view of the flow of your life, and the ideas of stepping out in the world as a grown-up. To me, there's something adult-like that's going on right now, like you're in the process of adulting. And I think to be able to do that really well, it's really important to not get into these strong parallels, like I have to do this or this. It's more to come into this integration. There will be more on this in my additional forecast. Now, I'm gifting you a little bit extra this time. So normally I do a relationship and connection forecast and also a career and ambition forecast. And what I'm doing in this particular release is I'm giving an excerpt of each in one video. And so if you keep watching, or if you click this video that comes up, it will take you straight there. So for that extra bit of information, stay tuned. Lots of love. Bye for now.